Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Happy birthday eve to me. I love my birthday. I've always loved my birthday. I don't know if it's just like an oldest kid thing or not, but maybe it is. I love my birthday, and it is tomorrow, and I'm going to be 26, which I'm still really trying to wrap my head around, to be honest with you. It feels old. 25 didn't feel so bad. 25 was like, wow, I've been looking forward to this birthday for a really long time. 26, I'm like, wow, I'm in my late 20s. Like, that happened really fast. That's wild. So this one is hitting me a little bit harder, but I'm still very excited about it. I love birthdays. Always have. Always will. And we're going to have a really great stream today and an awesome weekend with me and my fiance and our dog, just celebrating all of the exciting stuff in life. I am so excited to start our celebrations for the weekend with each and every one of you, though, and we'll just say way up front at the very beginning of the stream, before we even go into anything else today, how truly grateful I am for each and every one of your support over this last year. We started live streaming really for the first time in like September of last year, and it's crazy to me everything that has happened in the last few months, especially since taking this stream completely independently and putting it on every single platform in the last few months. None of this would be possible without each and every one of you and your undying support of me and my content and everything that we talk about as a community here on these streams. Thank you for watching every day. Thank you for participating in our live chat every day. Thank you for sharing this with people, for hitting that follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you guys choose to watch these streams on. Especially big shout out and thank you over to our amazing family on Locals, where you guys get extra content beyond everything else that we post on social media and help to financially support everything that I am doing as an independent creator. I would not be able to do any of this without all of you. It would just be me speaking random words into the ethos of the internet. And so I am just so blessed that this gets to be my job every day, that we've built this community in our little corner of the internet that continues to grow with each passing day. And none of that would be possible without each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you to Peggy and Jay watching on Facebook. Thank you to Dutch Canadian and Brown Rice and Phoenix and Bruno and Seeking Truth on YouTube. Thank you to Gone Dude on Rumble. Thank you to our amazing Locals fam, Alex, African Warlord, Mrock, Jack, and so many others. Thank you to our Getter Gang, Magic Def, XPender, and Think for Free, and more. You guys are why I get up every single day and have the ability to keep doing this, to keep speaking the truth to a world that's rejecting the very concept of truth, to have these important countercultural conversations with Gen Z, and so much more. So we're going to have some fun today. I'm going to share with you some of my highlights and favorite moments of my 25th year, and I'll be putting out a big post across platforms about that over the weekend, and what I'm really looking forward to in my 26th year. It's crazy to me that it's already here. It is absolutely wild that 2023 is already at the end of May. That completely blows my mind. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but things are going way faster than I ever expected 2023 would go, and wild that we're about halfway through almost already. Crazy. You guys, let's just jump right in. It's a Friday afternoon, so want to make sure we have as much fun as we possibly can before we all log off and unplug and hit the weekend. We've got two stories to unpack on the stream today. First, the NAACP's official travel advisory warning against the state of Florida. Then we'll jump into a new study proving that lab-grown meat, which has been heralded by the Gretas and climate activists of the world, is probably actually a lot worse for the environment than beef. Who would have ever saw that coming? I don't know, me, a bunch of other people. Stop eating lab-grown meat. And then we'll dive into my favorite moments of my 25th year, a little walk down memory lane before we wrap things up with our post-stream Q&A over on Locals, which every single one of you is invited to, and we'll have some fun birthday fun over there as well, especially because Alex's birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday, Alex, and we'll have some fun over there in our community. Let's jump right in. First things first, the NAACP has actually issued a formal travel advisory against the state of Florida. And when you think about the word travel advisory, that word usually comes to mind for countries like Iran or Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan, for American citizens that maybe it's not particularly safe for you to go travel to these places right now. So the US State Department will tell you perhaps you should wait and plan your trip for another time. No. This is now happening domestically, where woke organizations pushing a very specific political agenda. You guys know my voice is still coming back, so we're going to have to take it a little easy today. Pushing a very specific agenda are trying to get certain Americans not to travel to American states. Forgive me. Hang on. We're doing our best. The NAACP is... Hang on. Okay, guys, sorry. We're going to be quieter. We're going to talk quieter. I get carried away on the stream. I have a mic. We'll work through it. As you guys know, voice has been completely lost in the last few weeks. So it's working on coming its way back. My fiance is yelling at me to talk quieter. It's working on making its way back, but we have to be nice to it. I just get carried away and I get excited. So the NAACP, for those of you who don't know, and you might live out of the country, is kind of like a social activism organization. Throughout American history, they've done a lot of really great things in promoting actual equal rights for Black Americans and promoting actual civil rights in America. Today, though, the NAACP is doing a phenomenal job in simply advancing the woke agenda. So they have come forward and issued a travel advisory against the state of Florida, which I actually predict other social activism organizations are going to start doing the exact same thing, not just against Florida, but against other red states as well. Planned Parenthood, I predict, will start issuing travel advisories not to travel certain places. I would not be surprised at all if organizations like I think it's called the Human Rights Campaign, that has the little equality bumper stickers, start issuing travel warnings against states like Florida. And we talked a lot about Florida yesterday in the wake of Ron DeSantis's presidential campaign announcement on the stream. If you didn't get a chance to tune into that, go back and rewatch that from yesterday because we had a great conversation about all of it. But Florida, the big, deep, dark secret about Florida is that it's not just about fighting important national level culture war issues. It's actually a very well-governed state on top of all of that. It has the second lowest out of all 50 states in a state tax burden for Floridian citizens, just behind Alaska, which actually incentivizes people to live there financially. When a hurricane comes and blows through the state of Florida, we're rebuilding bridges and putting roads back together the very next day. We make sure that people have the opportunity to go choose what school makes sense for them and their family. We incentivize businesses to relocate here. Police officers were incentivized, I think, with something like a $10,000 bonus to come from other states to move to the state of Florida, which has dramatically reduced crime rates. And one big thing that people might not be aware of is that Florida is the #1 state for Black business owners in America to achieve success, which is huge, right? You would think Florida would be this safe haven and amazing, progressive, wonderful place for Black Americans to move to and to live there. Sadly, the NAACP fundamentally disagrees with that assessment. While New York and Chicago and other very, very dangerous cities and states that are not promoting the well-being of any American of any race are perfectly fine to go and visit and live in and spend your money in and start businesses in or put your life at risk in. For example, if you are a black baby in a city like New York, you are more likely to be aborted than you are to be born. If you are a black citizen walking around the streets of Chicago or Detroit or Minneapolis these days, good luck taking your life into your hands as things continue to get crazier and crazier and crazier. But sure, NAACP, Florida is absolutely the problem when it comes to the safety, well-being, economic prosperity, and American dream of Black Americans. But just for kicks and giggles, let's unpack what exactly the NAACP has to say in leading the new crusade through these travel advisories against the state of Florida. On their website, they put out this press statement just a few days ago on May 20th. This is not bad reporting. This is not through the grapevine information. This is exactly what they have published on their own website for immediate release. Today, the NAACP Board of Directors issued a formal travel advisory for the state of Florida. Remind me to come back to that sentence right at the beginning, at the end of this little press release. The travel advisory comes in direct response to Governor Ron DeSantis' aggressive attempts to erase Black history, fake news, and to restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. That part is actually true, but what they don't want you to realize is that, especially if you're not from America, you might not be familiar with this concept, but those DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that we see at American universities and now trickling down into high school, middle school, elementary school levels of education, both public and private, all of these programs are really just a Trojan horse to embrace complete insanity and an authoritarian socialist agenda. And it has worked unbelievably well. It's been gangbusters on American college campuses and now at every other level of the American education system. So of course we don't want to use the DEI programs that do absolutely everything they can to erase actual diversity and inclusion, but instead implement this lockstep totalitarian ideology that says if you don't check every single box of extreme leftism, abortion on demand through all 9 months, climate justice, whatever that's supposed to mean, through the Green New Deal, making sure that we have economic equity in America, aka socialism, at every single level of the American economy and political system, and more, then you are not inclusive or diverse or equitable at all in American society. As for the claim that Ron DeSantis is trying to aggressively erase Black history, in reality, what they're referring to is a change in curriculum for Florida schools that's removing this type of education that's not actually teaching legitimate Black history, but instead follows the very botched, often debunked, regularly debunked by historians across the political spectrum, vein of the 1619 Project that's trying to institute a lie in the next generation of American education that our country's founding was not on the basis of liberty, was not on the basis of religious freedom, was not on the basis of what our Constitution says, but instead our country was founded on the basis of slavery and slavery alone, and that we are a fundamentally white supremacist country, which is not true in studying Black history in the United States of America. So they're changing some curriculum here in the state of Florida, but in no way, shape, or form is our governor aggressively attempting to erase Black history or restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion in Florida schools at any level of education. The formal travel notice for the NAACP states Florida is openly hostile towards African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals. Nope. Could not be further from the truth. I think openly hostile is a really interesting way of saying that Florida has the highest rate of success for Black business owners, that crime rates in Florida cities that are incredibly racially diverse, not just Black and white, but literally every ethnicity and nationality that you can possibly think of, making it safer for minorities to exist in cities like Miami, where I live. And I don't know, the many, many, many LGBTQ plus people that live in a city like Miami and a state like Florida. Openly hostile seems like an odd choice of words to describe a thriving utopia of everybody doing really well culturally, economically, politically, and otherwise. But the NAACP says, before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. Nice. Let me be clear. Failing to teach an accurate representation of the horrors and inequalities that Black Americans have faced and continue to face is a disservice to students and a dereliction of duty to all, said the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. Under the leadership of Governor DeSantis, the state of Florida has become hostile to Black Americans and in direct conflict with the democratic ideals that our nation was founded upon. He should know that democracy will prevail because its defenders are prepared to stand up and fight. We're not backing down, and we encourage our allies to join us in the battle for the soul of our nation. We don't even have time to unpack just how twisted that sentiment was. The travel advisory was initially proposed to the board of directors by the NAACP's Florida State Conference. Their collective consideration of this advisory is a result from unrelenting attacks on fundamental freedoms from the governor and his legislative body. Once again, hate-inspired state leaders have chosen to put politics over people. I don't know. Could we say the same thing about New York, that's making it harder to be born as a Black American and would rather just see you aborted to not give you a chance for life at all? Could we say the same thing about Minneapolis or Chicago or Detroit, where you can get stabbed or shot in the street because of violent gang and crime activity that we're refusing to take ownership and responsibility for in putting politics over people? Could you say the same thing about the botched economic policies of California that are making it unbelievably difficult for Black business owners to be successful and to make sure their family has a better future for the next generation coming after them? Is that not putting politics over people? Because focusing this in on Florida, where it's safer, cheaper, happier, etc., to live here regardless of what race or ethnicity you are, seems to be a bit of an odd description. Governor DeSantis and the state of Florida have engaged in a blatant war against principles of diversity and inclusion and rejected our shared identities to appeal to a dangerous extremist minority, said the chair of the board of directors of the NAACP, Leon Russell. Leon is going to be an important figure in this conversation in just a moment. We will not allow our rights and history to be held hostage for political grandstanding. Anyone want to buy a mirror for this guy? The NAACP proudly fights against the malicious attacks in Florida against Black Americans. I encourage my fellow Floridians, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. We'll come back to that, to join in this fight to protect ourselves and our democracy. Following Governor DeSantis' so-called leadership in driving the state to reject students' access to AP African American Studies courses in March, again, that's the course that teaches false history that's been debunked over and over and over again. The NAACP distributed 10,000 books to 25 predominantly Black communities across the state in collaboration with the American Federation of Teachers Reading Opens the World program. The majority of the books donated were titles banned under the state's increasingly restrictive laws. The NAACP continues to encourage local branches and youth councils to start community libraries to encourage access and representative literature. They want Florida residents to join this effort to defeat Governor Ron DeSantis, this evil man who's trying to erase anything remotely associated with diversity and inclusion. Oh no. So here's the really fascinating part about all of this, okay? If we jump over to Twitter and we look up the chairman of the NAACP, the guy who we just read a statement from the chairman of the board of directors of the NAACP, Leon Russell. This guy who's saying that there's a blatant war in Florida against diversity and inclusion, and it's becoming a dangerous, extremist place to live. We have to fight to protect our democracy. And if you are a Black American, you can never come to Florida because you will probably die. And that would be just terrible for you, right? Look where this person lives. So, Leon, must be awfully nice for you to have absolutely no ramifications for the things that you state or no accountability for any sort of ideological consistency whatsoever when you, as the chairman of the NAACP board of directors, can happily live and probably retire in Tampa, Florida, where you're doing extremely well for yourself to the point that you can be the chairman of one of the most well-recognized social activism nonprofits and organizations in all of American history. It's fine for you to live in Tampa, Florida, but any other Black American can't even visit the state of Florida because it's unsafe and dangerous and extremist for them to do so. This is just another example of the rules for me, but not for thee, absolute backwards insanity that we have seen for the last several years coming from the pro-BLM, very extremist, critical race theory vein of progressive politics. And frankly, really reminds me of when Patrisse Cullors, one of the founding members of BLM Inc., the actual organization of Black Lives Matter, has stolen all of this money, millions upon millions of dollars, to build mega mansions and host lavish parties and have zero accountability for that information whatsoever. Speaking of, if you guys haven't already watched Candace Owens' documentary on that individual and what a scam monetarily and otherwise BLM as an organization actually is in the wake of the George Floyd death, which I'm pretty sure the anniversary was yesterday, if I remember correctly. It's called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, Greatest Lie Ever Told. Go watch it. I was at the premiere a few months ago, and it was phenomenal and incredibly eye-opening. But this is exactly the type of stuff that you see from these absolute raging lunatics who are completely fine pointing the finger at anybody who looks differently from them or thinks differently from them and saying, you are racist, you are evil, you are xenophobic, you are a white supremacist, you are literally Hitler, like they will call basically anybody that doesn't align with the pro-Marxist values of BLM Inc., of the NAACP, of the 1619 Project, or anything else in the vein of critical race theory. And you are the reason I'm not successful, and every other Black person in America is not successful, when they are very successful, and they are just fine and happy and dandy to be living under all of these dangerous, extremist policies that are too dangerous for anyone to even contemplate visiting, let alone living under. It's good enough for you, but it's not good enough for the millions of people that you claim to try to be lifting up and lifting out of poverty, but you're not actually interested in doing that, clearly, which just blows my mind. Blows my mind. And then you see headlines like this from CNN. Beware, your life is not valued. NAACP travel advisory warns that Florida is openly hostile towards African Americans. When we lie to an entire group of people in the United States, assuming that they are a political, intellectual, and cultural monolith by suggesting that if they do not support Marxism through supporting BLM Inc. or the NAACP or the 1619 Project or critical race theory in general, that if they don't support that, they're not really Black, which I'm pretty sure somebody said that out loud. Somebody of importance, if I remember correctly. Could it be the President of the United States that somehow still was overwhelmingly supported by these organizations when he's literally telling them that you're not Black if you don't align with my exact vein of political thought? Disgusting. Using people as pawns. Unbelievably racist to say, but I guess I'm no expert on the subject because I'm contributing to the dangerous extremism of what all of these states have been putting out there. Ridiculous. When we lie to a group of people and tell them that their life is on the line and their life is not valued, how can we ever remotely be surprised when people are clearly responding to that? This is the same exact language that is used to scare and freak people out on the issue of abortion or on the issue of climate change. And I think it's high time that people who disagree with this narrative start realizing that the hyperbole that is used in this process, suggesting that you are going to literally die if you don't XYZ. If you don't go travel to the state of Florida, you'll be fine. But if you travel there, you are going to literally die. If you don't get an abortion, you are going to literally die. If you don't give up your gas stoves and your gas cars and go completely dependent on electric everything, which there's not a lot of science to support that's actually better for the environment at this point in time. It might be in the future, but not at this point in time. You are going to actually die. The world is going to actually end, and everyone is going to actually die if you don't eat lab-grown meat instead of beef, or if you don't go vegan instead of eating beef. None of it is true. Not 1 ounce of any of this is true, but the fear tactics that are used to scare people into submission, which all of us are very familiar with across the world right now, particularly in the wake of COVID-19 policies and lockdowns that shut down our schools and our businesses and everything else, those scare tactics are unbelievably successful. So I think we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? Are we okay letting people scare the masses in populations to make them scared into submission? Are we okay with these radical organizations and social justice activism groups lying and scaring people to prevent them from actually being safe or successful or thriving or happy in America or around the world? I'm not okay with that, which is why we unpack these lies here on the live stream and on my social media. And this is why I say each and every day that every one of you has the capacity to, but also the obligation to become a content creator yourself. Because the more of us in this fight, the more opportunity we have to get people to understand and unpack the truth. Chris, thank you so much for your donation in our YouTube super chat, donating some Great British pounds to us, saying happy birthday for tomorrow. My sister is in London right now, so you just gave me a really big smile on my face, and you are so sweet for a little birthday donation there in our super chat. Thank you so very much. Similarly, I just mentioned it in this scare tactic conversation, outside of the racial argument and outside of the abortion argument, which we talk about all the time, we're hearing this scare tactic being used for climate change and environmentalism. And you guys know, I talk about this a lot on the stream. I am an incredibly passionate conservationist. I very much believe in environmentalism. I grew up in the mountains of Colorado. I actually don't think that it's a partisan political issue one bit to take care of the world that we have been entrusted by God to take care of, right? I mean, ultimately, our biggest responsibility is to be stewards of this place that we call home. And whether that's through limiting the waste that we generate or trying to reuse things as much as possible, or even developing better for the environment solutions to some of our biggest problems like waste and the like, those things are not partisan political talking points to me one bit. Where things do get partisan and political for me is when we use environmentalism and conservation, which has been a responsibility for every generation of human beings, not just Americans, but human beings on the planet since the dawn of time. When we use that as a Trojan horse to usher in socialism and authoritarianism and Marxism, suggesting that the only way to care for the environment is to be a supporter of the Green New Deal, or is to be a socialist, or is to support gun control or abortion or anti-family policies, or even abolishing the nuclear family altogether, which is a common talking point these days when it comes to pro-environmental conversations. And I have a sincere problem with people lying to you about what's going to be better for the environment in the long run, rather than doing things we've done for all of human history and we know how to do well and we know how to commingle with conservation and environmentalism to try to have more control over you and your life. And one of the biggest ways that these so-called environmentalists are trying to lie to us is by suggesting that you cannot eat meat, particularly eat beef, if you care about the environment, because cows are farting into the sky, and that is destroying our ozone layer and putting way too many emissions out into the environment, and also is just really bad for plant life and for the land and for agriculture in general. So the only solution for you, if you want to care about the environment, is to eat meat that we grow in a lab. That tastes almost the same and it bleeds. If you don't really want to go vegan, that's fine, I guess. Like, some people really like meat, but the best way to do that is to artificially take animal cells and reproduce them in a lab, because that's going to be much better for the environment than eating normal meat. There are red flags everywhere in this conversation, and the true environmentalist in me is saying absolutely not right out the gate. But don't take my word for it, because I know that it's a lie based on the research that I've done on this topic. If anyone tries to come to you and say that you hate Earth or you hate the environment or you're going to destroy our planet as we know it for eating meat, I want you to direct all of those people to this new study from the University of California that is suggesting lab-grown meat actually might have a worse carbon footprint than retail beef. Who knew? Who could have predicted that? All of us, I think, with half a brain. Researchers are finding that lab-grown meat, which again is basically, it's real meat, which is really scary. More than the Impossible Burger and all of the plant-derived and plant-based stuff. This is real meat, like cellular at the cellular level. This is an animal cellular meat. Cultured from animal cells but built in a lab, is often thought to be more environmentally friendly than beef because it's predicted to need less land, water, and greenhouse gases than raising cattle. But in a preprint, not yet peer-reviewed, they say that up front to make sure you know this isn't the real science yet. It has to be peer-reviewed. Okay, I think we can all understand that this is a very accurate representation of what's going on. Researchers at the University of California, Davis have found that a lab-grown or cultivated meat environmental impact is likely to be orders of magnitude higher than retail beef based on current and near-term production methods. Shocking. Let's just scroll down right here to this situation. The scientists defined the global warming potential as the carbon dioxide equivalents emitted for each kilogram of meat produced. The study found that they conducted here that the global warming potential of lab-based meat is 4 to 25 times greater than the average for retail beef. 25 times worse for the environment than just slaughtering a cow that was raised to be slaughtered and lives on a farm. But it's those darn cow farts that are destroying the environment and are taking away our capacity to live beyond the next 10 years, because Earth is sure to self-destruct if we don't eat lab-grown meat immediately. Is it really true, though? I mean, we probably shouldn't be surprised, because who is going out of their way to make sure that we eat lab-grown meat and lab-grown eggs and lab-grown dairy alternatives and substitutes? People like Bill Gates, who also love to lecture us on the environment and go out of their way to tell us that we are all really bad people for driving our cars to work or taking airplanes when we have to travel somewhere or commute somewhere, but are perfectly fine taking their gazillion-dollar private jet to Davos, Switzerland, halfway across the world, and lecture us about how we are destroying the planet. Wake up, people. Everything from the NAACP lying to Black Americans that Florida is somehow dangerous or extremist for them to come visit or live here when they're perfectly fine to do it themselves when they work for the NAACP, all the way through lab-grown meat being better for the environment when it might be 25 times worse. All of these lies are predicated on one result. And I want you to start using this as a litmus test for everything that you will hear ramping up towards the 2024 election, because this rhetoric is about to get a whole hell of a lot crazier in the next several months from the radical left. If you are being told that someone or something is evil or not inclusive or not diverse or not progressive or not environmentally friendly, or any of the other talking points that they love to use, and they will stake their life on that claim, chances are those people are living their life completely antithetically to what they are telling you for the sole purpose of making a killer living off of the lies that they are telling you. Everything that the left loves to scream their head off about in protecting children, or protecting moms and women and supporting women, or saving the environment, or being pro-Black American, or any of the other crusades that they love to take on any given basis, on any given day, every single one of those things, it is safe as hell to assume they are doing the exact opposite, that they are doing everything they are accusing you of doing, that they believe everything they're accusing you of believing. And it's really easy to use this litmus test against any of the new politically relevant talking points that come up with any passing day. And I'm sure we're about to hear a whole lot of them going into 2024 with the primary elections and debates on both sides of the aisle. Go out of your way to ask yourselves the big questions. Why am I being told this very specific narrative? What is the agenda behind that narrative? Follow a paper trail of money, of tens of millions of dollars, sometimes more, that are being donated to some of these people, these causes, these nonprofits, etc., so that people with a nefarious agenda can sell you something that is not true, that they don't actually believe, and they can retain power and control over who runs for office, who controls things from inside of our government, who has the most powerful corporations, who tells you the media narrative, and more. Yesterday, we talked about the need to think for ourselves independently on a political basis, but I actually believe this is across the board. The most rebellious, countercultural, but also empowering thing that you can possibly do in 2023 America is dare to think for yourself. And the same goes for all of you watching abroad as well right now. Go out of your way to develop and formulate your own conclusions, your own opinions. Challenge your perspective and perception of the world. Make sure that the people you are supporting and the people that you are lending your money, your attention, and your time to align with your values. Go out of your way to be you in a world that is demanding conformity to what the loudest voices, opinions, and microphones have to say. And one of the absolute best ways that you guys can do that before we transition into sharing some highlights from my 25th year as we wrap up the stream, one of the best ways that you can be a steward of your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own trajectory in life is by supporting businesses that share your values. And we do that here on the stream through supporting Public Square, who is the sponsor of today's stream. If you guys don't already know about Public Square, you need to go check them out. And they have some really exciting news today, which I'll get to in just a second. But Public Square is essentially an online marketplace of 50,000 plus businesses across America that share your values, that are pro-family, pro-faith, pro-freedom, pro-America, pro-God, and anti-woke in every way, shape, or form, and have amazing products to partner with you on so that you can feel comfortable moving beyond supporting the companies that don't share your values but are very happy to take your credit card at the end of the day. You can download Public Square as an app on the App Store or Google Play Store. That's Public SQ, or go check out their website. And I'm dropping a link right now in our live chat that if you guys are small business owners, you guys need to add your business to Public Square. So many of you already have and have come back and reported to me that you have had a massive influx in customers, which makes me really happy. And the good news about Public Square that just came out today is that in the wake of so many businesses in America leaning into this progressive woke agenda, like Nike, like Bud Light, like Target, and so many others, Public Square is becoming a mainstream parallel economy alternative to everywhere else that we shop, to the point that right now, today, Public Square is the number 4 app in the entire Apple App Store, ahead of TikTok, ahead of, I think CapCut, it was ahead of that too. Crazy, absolutely insane to me, and so exciting that Public Square is making such a huge impact on American culture and how we conduct business in our country. You guys can find everything on Public Square, from coffee shops to travel agencies to people to help you do your taxes to anything else that you could possibly imagine. Again, there's literally over 50,000 small businesses on this app. And in the next couple of weeks, they are working on rolling out in-app e-commerce, essentially meaning like Amazon, you could check out inside the app from multiple different companies at once, which is really exciting and awesome. So we love Public Square. Don't go download the app. If you guys haven't already downloaded it, let's try to get this app to number 1 in the Apple App Store. That would be phenomenal and would make me super happy. But it feels really good to support businesses that share your values, that you've gone out of your way to research about, and frankly are much, much better products than anything else that you are going to find on Amazon or at Target or anything else. So go add your business to Public Square. Go download that app if you're looking for businesses to support. So many of you guys already have, and I absolutely love seeing that. Okay, I'm going to share my few favorite moments really quick before we move over to our post-stream Q&A over on Locals, which I'll drop the link in our chat right now for. You guys are all invited to come join us on Locals. We're going to do a very fun post-stream birthday Q&A over there for a little bit of extra time, assuming my voice holds up. That, again, you guys are all invited to. But as you transition over to Locals, which you're all welcome to do, you are all invited to come and join us. I do want to say that I have had a phenomenal year. 25 was a very blessed year, and God did so many things in my life this year that I just never really expected. So I'll share a few of my highlights from this year and what I'm most looking forward to in level 26 of life. Biggest overall highlight of this year, obviously, was getting engaged in December. My fiance did such a phenomenal job surprising me while we were on a trip with our friends to the Grand Canyon for a weekend when we were still living in Arizona. And it was an absolute shock. I did not see it coming at that time whatsoever, but was so, so magical and very tailored to me and my love of the outdoors and the National Park Service. And such a beautiful day. It had just snowed at the Grand Canyon, and it was so picturesque and so beautiful. And obviously now I'm engaged to my best friend that I've ever had and ever will have. And that was easily the best day of my 25th year. But there were so many other highlights throughout the year as well. We took a family trip with all 3 of us and my 2 parents and all of our significant others, all of our boyfriends, which was a first that we'd ever done that for the 4th of July last year. And we went to Maui in Hawaii, which was amazing. That was probably one of my favorite family trips that we've ever taken, and was such a special time to get to spend time with my family, my siblings, and their significant others as well. When you grow up and you all have to live all over the country and kind of like scattered throughout the map, it's difficult to find that time to spend an entire week to 10 days together, and getting the chance to do that was really, really special. We developed a lot of special memories on that trip, and I hope that we're able to replicate it sometime soon, but we all have very crazy busy schedules, and that's obviously going to be a hard thing to replicate anytime remotely soon. I got to visit Israel twice in my 25th year, which is crazy. That easily was one of my top 5 experiences of my 20s so far. Getting to see the Holy Land come to life before you and like reading the Bible in Technicolor versus black and white words on a page is so earth-shatteringly cool. And visiting Israel and then making the documentary about it that came out just a few months ago was such an honor and a privilege to get to remind people that there's so much more to life than most of the very shallow, petty political things that we talk about on a given basis any day. Dedicating your life to asking the big questions about why we're here and what we're doing and what our purpose is and what legacy we're going to leave when we eventually leave this world behind and go to the next one is exactly why the culture of the nation of Israel is so special to me. And I hope that each and every one of you get to experience that as well. If you guys haven't seen the documentary called The Eye of the Storm, it is on every single platform that you guys see and you are watching this stream on. So please take the time to go watch it. It is very, very important. And I hope that we are able to start more conversations about Israel and the very special culture of cities like Jerusalem so that we can replicate that in our own home cities and states. What else in the 25th year did I get to experience? A whole lot more, but those are a few highlights that definitely stand out to me. Moving to Florida was such a huge change, but honestly, such a beautiful decision, and I could not be happier to be kicking off my next year of life, my late 20s, in a state like Florida that is making it so easy to thrive, to start a family, to get married, and really embrace the traditional values that made America so, so great. I could not be more honored and excited that this next year is going to be kicked off in such a special state where the forefront of American culture is being led on offense. As for what I'm looking forward to in my 26th year, wedding planning, finally, which is very exciting. It has been a crazy few months since we got engaged, and I've had so much to do. Brock started a new job. I turned in a really important assignment that you're going to hear more about in the next few weeks that I worked really hard on writing a few weeks ago, and that's taken a crazy amount of time in the last several months. We moved across the country to a new state and had a very long drive to get here and so many other firsts. So I'm excited to finally buckle down and really lean into wedding planning and creating a very special memory for us as we kick off our married life. I'm going to be visiting a new country. I visited Canada a couple weeks ago, but obviously that went into the 25th year. When I turn 26, I'll be visiting at least one new country in New Zealand. So I'm really excited about that. Continuing to spread the pro-life message all over the world and speak up for truth. And there's so much more up my sleeve coming in my 26th year for independent content creation, which I really started leaning into throughout my 25th year and wanted to go out of my way to make big sacrifices and know that it's going to be really hard, but ultimately it will be worth it to be an independent creator, not reliant on anybody else or anybody telling me what to say or put out there. And I'm very, very excited and honored to be leaning into that even further this year, which I'll be able to share a lot more with you about very, very, very soon. So thank you so much for your wonderful birthday wishes. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Please consider jumping over and joining us for our post-stream Q&A over on Locals. We will see you over there for our Q&A for a little bit, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Unplug, spend some time with your friends and family and loved ones, and we will see you back for the stream next week at 3 p.m. Eastern daily, as you guys know. Much love to each and every one of you. Locals, don't go anywhere. Everybody else, have a fantastic weekend.